freedom is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
I want to get the language right.
The big government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, SM Gibson.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Check, siblings.
This is how we're going to do this. My name is SM Gibson, and this is Anti-Media Radio. We are here in pursuit of truth in media. We are an alternative to the mainstream corporate narrative and agenda. July the 30th, 2015, so far in the United States, since January the 1st, 2015, 675 Americans have been killed by police officers. Just in the month of July, 117 deaths by police officers in this country. Officers killed in the line of duty, 68 officers killed in the line of duty. In just the month of July, we've seen 5. 5 against 117. We're here at the end of the month. Of those 68 officers that are no longer with us, 18 of those were from automobile accidents, 11 from heart attacks, and 17 by gunfire. We have also seen 107 beheadings by our good friends, Saudi Arabia, the good allies. Thankfully, they can lube us up with oil anytime they want, so you know, that's no issue that they've beheaded 107 people. The strict gun laws in the city of Chicago have worked out so well. Also, 1,582 people have been shot since the beginning of the year. 277 homicides. Just in the month of July, since we're here at the end of the month, 305 people have been shot. 55 homicides in the city of Chicago with their gun laws that everybody wants to see around the country. As always, in the studio tonight, we are joined by the wonderful producer, Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon, how are you doing, sir?
What's up, everybody?
Well, we are here. The Samuel DeBose stuff is absolutely kicking off.
Everyone needs to go to Anti-Media's website right now. Click on the article and look at the video link that's posted on that article versus the 2.5 to 3 minute version that's posted practically just about everywhere else. The whole entire video, body cam footage, needs to be seen to really get exactly how sick and depraved this really is.
And here's the thing, we've got the officer, the cop, out on bail. You know, $1 million set for bond. He's out tonight as a free man. I don't think he's going to get away with this. I think he will end up going to jail. We're going to get way more in depth about this here in a few minutes with the wonderful Claire Burnish. She is actually in Cincinnati. She has been reporting on this since the day that it transpired.
She broke it on this very show. Before any of the news organizations had gotten a hold of it. And really, I have to applaud the state of Ohio simply due to the fact that Ohio is, I don't know, they have laws in place. We've discussed this before. The laws in place basically state that citizens can actually bring up the case if the prosecutors or City Hall decides to overlook it and it gets glossed over and it's just a simple administrative misunderstanding. That citizens can actually bring the criminal matter back up before the court. We've seen this in the case of Tamir Rice in Cleveland with what's going on there. I really don't know. I don't know how this is ultimately going to turn out. The fact that we have a killer cop roaming the streets, he is out on bail, and luckily his badge has been taken away from him. But I'm just thoroughly disgusted by this whole entire case. And we see yet another case of police brutality, a police officer trying or attempted to halfway cover it up, and actually did go down to the station, make all of his official reports and so on and so forth, and it seemed like the matter was going to be simply closed. And again, we have an issue of citizens making their voice heard, citizens that are actually, very incensed and outraged by the usual. I mean, this is the absolute, usual that we always see. A cop that is too lazy to go to the trouble to chase someone down or actually use what other tools are available to him, goes and takes the easy and shoots somebody and then tries to explain it later on. And that's absolutely sick.
So do you think that this officer kid, first off, it came out that he was involved in somebody else being killed back in 2010. Like, this is crazy. Like, none of this should be happening whatsoever. Do you think that he's going to be indicted for lying, which he did? Also, Officer Lyndon Schmidt. Both of them gave statements and testified, and they're on the video, which you can get.
Getting their story straight. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I don't think we need to talk about that. Well, I did see blah blah this and that. Well, let's just keep that part quiet. And that's why it's very important to go watch the whole entire video that's available instead of just the small little 2 or 3 minute segment that leaves all of the other completely damning evidence out of. The 2 or 3 minute video can be interpreted. It can be interpreted as quite possibly you had somebody that was running away, or it was so blurry and it happened so quick that he could have very well possibly been reaching for a gun. And, of course, there was no gun found in the automobile or on his person for that matter. So, anyway.
We are currently, if you're trying to call in right now, we are having problems with the phone lines. We are currently trying to get that worked out. Please be patient with us. As soon as we do, we are going to have Ms. Claire Burnish on the line to discuss this a little bit further. Please be patient with this while we get this working. But yet, on some more important issues, we're living in a country, there's people that raise money for this guy to get him out on bond. Raise money. What is there to misinterpret? Where are we at in this country? What?
Don't you understand what a hard job police officers have? They're shot at constantly, every single day. I mean, just this year, how many police officers have died from gun? Oh, wait a minute. We told that number already, didn't we? Yeah.
It was 17 so far by gunfire, but it's 68 in total.
Versus how many that police have?
675.
Wow, that's 10%. That's a hell of a statistic.
So it's
right there.
10 times more dangerous to be a citizen than it is to be a cop.
Oh, high five on that one. Good stat.
So
you won't hear that one on Fox News. That's for damn sure.
But that's what we're living with right now in this country. And yet people excuse it. It's crazy. People excuse this whole business but they're here to protect you. I always think of it in terms of two different things. First is the Roman Empire. Okay, think about, are you going to have people excusing, you look back in history, some Roman soldier killing, a 12-year-old child, or you have an instance like this where some guy's head just gets chopped off. Or look back in the context of 1933 Germany. If you heard a story about a German soldier just blowing some guy's head off at some checkpoint, you'd be like, those monsters. You know why you would think that? Because they are. But when it's in the context of a United States police officer, it's all of a sudden you excuse it. And that's absolutely sickening to me. How people don't have this context of what human rights are and human life is. Okay, we sit here, and there's two sides of this story, because we sit here and there's the whole Black Lives Matter hashtag and the whole All Lives Matter hashtag. First off, yes, all lives do matter, period. But guess what? That definitely includes Black Lives Matter. And more importantly, you have to acknowledge, if all lives matter, you have to acknowledge there's something very sick going on in this country of people with color to their skin being murdered in the street.
People of color are definitely being persecuted by law enforcement.
There's no question about it. There's no question about it.
I wish somebody from New York City would call in right now. Of course, we actually get calls. But, I really do wish that we could have more of an open dialogue about that. We were speaking to, I was speaking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about how this nation was founded and the very bloody and violent history that this nation was founded on. And his response, and again, he was a Caucasian male of a certain age, and his response was, I don't understand. That was so long ago. Why can't people just get over that? And that's why we can't just get over it. I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, we need to have open dialogue, an open, frank
You know what?
discussion.
I'm so sick of hearing about dialogues. You know what? Everybody's like, let's have a dialogue about this. Let's have a conversation. While we're sitting here chatting around, the fireplace, sitting here sipping our tea, there's people getting killed in the streets. I don't want to have a dialogue. I don't want to have a conversation. I don't want somebody to feel guilty about this. You know what? Stop killing people. Stop it. Stop murdering people. It's ridiculous.
And when it comes to the quote-unquote conversation of racism, though, there's been a conversation about what's racist and not a conversation about how to fix it.
Stop pulling the triggers, what you do.
And that's not a discussion that needs to take place between two Caucasians, two African Americans, two Chinese folks, two Hispanic folks, whatever the case may be. It needs to be a discussion that takes place with all of us.
But here's the thing, and clearly, there are race discrepancies in this country, but that being said, guess what? The color of your skin should not have to do with you being killed. Stop killing people. Stop it. Stop. It has to end now. And it's something that people completely overlook. And they sit here and think that, talking about this other issue, which is important and should be discussed, is going to fix this stuff. And we're sitting here talking about people that are pulling triggers on people. That has to end now.
Absolutely.
Okay? We don't need to sit here and have this whole dialogue about this. What is there to be confused about? Don't kill somebody. If you do kill somebody, I don't care what skin color you are or what skin color the other person is. You go to jail. Neat. You have a badge on. Neat. You get paid by taxpayer dollars. Guess what? I don't care. Go to jail. Do not pass go.
Well, it's the same premise, too, that these politicians that are out here screwing the taxpayers left and right by accepting all of this corporate bribe money. It's the same exact thing. Again, with politicians and with police officers, they are paid by us, the taxpayers. They are put in their positions of power by us, their employers, taxpayers. And I think that that's really the mentality, and I've said this numerous times. I think that's the mentality that American citizens need to start focusing on, is that we employ these people. And we, as their employers, need to start seeking better ways of I already see you shaking your head already. Yeah, I feel it coming.
Look, there's so many people that say, we're your boss, we're your boss, we're your boss. Let me tell you something. That's not how these people think in their head, these cops. That's not
absolutely.
How they think. Because when you get pulled over, it's not like, hey, I'm your boss, I'm going to leave. And guess what? Your head gets blown off.
And then I'm going to sit and make up a savvy story about how it happened. Oh, he was a dangerous person. Look at his record. He tried to start his car and drag me down the street.
What is that? What is that? It's somebody get.
He started his car when I saw the video. He started his car when the police officer went to open the car door. I mean, again, here's yet another case.
Even if he would have drove off, is driving away for not having a front license plate a reason to have your head blown off?
You got the tag. Come, just send me a ticket. Or come to the house later on and come get me after I've done parked the car, because you're going to try to get me for some inbound fees too. Come on now.
How is everyone not completely disgusted to the point of being ill about this?
Sean Hannity's not.
Well, Sean Hannity is a fool.
That guy's there.
What do we do to stop this? Guess what we do? We have to rein in our police departments. We have to rein in the fact that they believe that they are better than all of us, because here is something. Yes, there's a huge discrepancy in percentage of people of the population and people getting killed based on skin color. And that is something that has to be addressed. At the same time, this is something people don't realize. There's not just bandits of renegade white people that aren't cops patrolling the streets killing black people in this country. It's a cop every time. It's a cop. It's not just these crazy racist citizens. It's a cop. We have to rein in that problem, because we are all losing family members.
Agreed.
All of us. We have to deal with the issue. These people are not above the law, even though they think they are. They think because I wear a badge, I get to do what I want. And even it's something as simple as making a U-turn here or parking in a handicap spot, they do not think the law applies to them. Because who's going to give them a ticket? They're buddies with all the people that give out the tickets.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're living in. That's the problem to address immediately. That is a huge problem. If you're above the law, Shannon, do you think that's going to go to your head? Do you think you're just going to walk around like Clint Eastwood doing what you want?
No, if I'm above the law, I'm going to do whatever I can to maintain, because, especially if I've got a shiny badge and a gun on my hip, I'm going to do whatever I can to maintain the air of safety, that people can feel safe around me. Remember when you used to feel safe around a police officer? Probably not. It hadn't happened in a good long while. Since what was that fellow? Oh, Andy Griffith. Yeah.
That'd have been all right.
Andy Taylor. Excuse me. Sheriff Taylor.
There wasn't anybody getting shot there.
No. Because he didn't even have a gun.
No, he didn't.
That's how much of a badass he was.
Right.
Yeah. He actually, and I'm sure that his IQ is way, way, way too high to be a police officer in 2015.
That's probably true. That's, it kind of sounds like a joke. That's probably true. He probably wouldn't even be a cop.
Oh, absolutely. Or I'm sorry, mister, but you're just not giving.
And here's the thing. This has to be said, because I understand what the job of the police officer is as far as enforcing bad laws, but you cannot say realistically, you can't sit here and complain and say, don't blanket everybody and judge everybody for this. You can't do the same thing with cops. Not every single cop is a bad person. It's just not that way.
Absolutely not. There are some very fine, upstanding, wonderful law enforcement officers out there doing their job day in and day out.
But here's the problem.
And their job has been made absolutely horrible by these damn renegade cops.
You're right. And here's the problem, though. The cops that see something like this situation, okay, and they like, I've got nothing to do with this. I'm telling the truth about what I saw because that's messed up. those cops get fired.
Instant persecution.
They get in trouble for doing the right thing.
Harassed by some of their former colleagues after they've been fired.
Where are we living at?
Driven out of town.
How does not anybody see the correlation of 1930s Germany and the 2000 teens United States?
Well, and that's kind of one theory that I've had. It's the whole gentrification programs. We're seeing we're basically just seeing the very weakest among us being snuffed out right in front of our eyes. And, and again, I'm not referring to, any particular one group of people as weaker, but they're certainly not affluents. They're certainly not the politicians and the movers and the shakers and the movie stars and so on and so forth, That's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the absolute, it's just like in the case of Sandra Bland. Sandra Bland was a young woman that was moving to a different part of the country that was trying to, trying to build her life, trying to build a really, really good life for herself. And she just happened to be in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time.
Okay, Okay. See, we having some technical difficulties here trying to get Claire on the line. Let's see what we can do here. Claire, if you can hear us, try calling back here. Try calling back in a second here. We're just having all
Gremlins.
kinds
Remember the
of
movie
them.
Gremlins? I think that's what we're dealing with here.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? The night we're sitting here about ready to bring the truth and bring the real, all the technical difficulties happen.
Well, we can't blame it on the Japanese like the movie Gremlins. We have to blame it on the Iraqis. Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be
We need to
just
put the
Iraqis.
blame squarely where it belongs.
I think we can blame Syria.
Yeah.
I think we can do that.
Are you Syria?
Oh,
Sorry,
jeez.
I had to.
We're working to get Claire back on the line. Massively apologize for the...
This was going to be our greatest show ever.
Yeah?
Oh, man. Vermin Supreme was going to... Oh, wait a minute. That wasn't going to happen. Vermin Supreme, we love you. I can't stress that enough. I really love that guy.
You do.
I'm serious. What other viable candidate do we have? Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, Hillary's the best. All right, we are now joined on the line by the wonderful editor-in-chief of Anti-Media, Mr. Nick Burnaby. Nick, how you doing, sir?
Yo, what's up?
What's up?
Sitting here fighting with computers and technology right now.
Yeah, man, and I hate to be the guy that always says it, but I can't help but blame the NSA.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, man. I think we need to do a full investigation. We have...
Can we do that? Can we have a full investigation? Nick, will you make this happen?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna call Clapper right now.
I trust him.
So I'm trying to get these phone lines fixed up for you guys. I don't know what's going on. I mean, obviously I'm on the line and the radio's still going. So
That's awesome.
it's happening.
Yeah, you definitely just cut off when that happened.
Yeah, he brought the NSA up. That's why. They're definitely gonna mess with us now.
Oh man, that's funny, dude. Yeah, I don't know. It's always a technical difficulty with this internet stuff. The problem is that we just went through this big Skype update like 2 weeks ago, and ever since then we've been having this software conflict because we'd gone 8 months without having any technical difficulties or whatever. But now they're springing back up.
We need the old Skype. That's what it is. Let's pull the old Skype out. Get rid of this new crap.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. Every time you update something, it's like, oh, dude, it messes up. But
I does that with my Angry Birds. It pisses me off every time.
Well,
Yeah.
I tell you what, Nick. Since we've got you on the line, tell us what you think about the entire situation in Cincinnati. All the stuff we found out today about how a couple of these officers have already been involved in a guy getting killed. We've got 2 of the officers that are now on the hook. They're saying they could be indicted for lying, which we know for a fact that they did. And then as well as the killer cop, that's exactly what he is now out on bond tonight.
yeah, man. I mean, it's to me the thing going on with Sam DuBose, it's very similar to Sandra Bland, where cop pulls someone over for some bullshit traffic violation. They go up and they expect you to allow them to search your person, search your property, and violate your rights. People stand up because thanks to the internet, people now know their rights because for the most part, I mean, shit. For even for me, 4 years ago, I had no clue how to deal with the cops. I didn't know my rights. Every time that I used to get pulled over, I let them search me head to toe, dude. I've been violated by the cops before. But nowadays, people have the internet, and people are starting to stand up to these cops. And straight up, the people that are minorities are targeted by the cops because the cops automatically assume that they're doing something wrong because they're, call it racism, call it prejudice. I don't know what to call it, but they're targeting minorities maybe just because they feel like they don't have the legal capabilities to hire a lawyer and fight the case in court, whatever it may be. They're targeting people when you stand up for your rights. I mean, that it seems like in the case of Sandra Bland and in the case of Samuel DuBose, it was them asserting themselves and saying, look, dude, if I didn't commit a crime, just give me my ticket. You don't need to see anything else. You got my license plate number. Give me my ticket and let me be on my way. And that triggers the cops and it makes them violent, man. And I've dealt with it personally here in San Diego. I went through a checkpoint one time where I refused to consent to his. Happened to me, man. This cop tried to provoke me into a fight. Thankfully, his partner pulled him back and it didn't happen. But I mean, this kind of stuff happens all the time to all kinds of people. These cops don't like when you stand up to their authority. They're so used to getting their way, especially these guys that have been on the force for a long time. I mean, they're so used to people just, bowing down to the cop like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, do whatever you want to search me? Yeah, you want to violate my rights? Yeah, go ahead. Just, hopefully this reduces my chance of getting a ticket. And that was the prevailing thought process back in the day. But now, thanks to a lot of this stuff, and you can't just discount the amount of people posting their videos on YouTube and people seeing these videos and them going viral. More and more people try to stand up to authority. I just saw another video on revolutionnews.com where a guy, same exact scenario, where a guy tried to tell the cop, like, look, man, I haven't committed a crime. Why are you trying to see my ID? And what do you know? He ends up getting tased and he ends up dead. It's just happening over and over, dude. And part of it, we talked about it last night on the show too, is a lot of it is the training, the military. I mean, what happened to shooting a guy in the leg when he was, wielding a stick or whatever, or especially when these people are completely unarmed? Why don't you shoot him in the leg or something? Like, why are you shooting people 5 times in the chest or shooting them point blank in the head like they did in
Shooting him in the leg won't kill him. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And so, I mean, we got to call into question here the entire institution of police in the U.S. There was a great meme today on, I think it came from the Free Thought Project, about how the police should be more like a fire department, man. They should be in the department. If someone calls them and says, hey, I see a drunk driver swerving, okay, then send the cop out and find the drunk driver guy. You don't set up checkpoints. You don't send cops patrolling neighborhoods just looking for shit to happen. Firemen aren't driving around neighborhoods looking for fires to be started. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the whole idea of policing in the United States it's philosophically and structurally and foundationally completely wrong. It's completely backwards. And, I think that is probably, where we got to start looking with this police accountability movement and addressing it at a larger scale, man. And don't get me wrong. I mean, it's highly racist. People that are minorities, people that are brown and black, and I've been targeted just because I'm brown, and we get it, the short end of the stick, but it happens to everybody too, man. Everybody's gotten effed with by the cops for the most part. Nobody likes it. It's a problem that we all have to deal with. And for it to change, that's the thing, man. For this problem to change, it's going to take us all uniting together to, focus on it and really make some changes. Because if not, dude, if it's just faction and faction and faction trying to fight, and there's a bunch of prevailing different, kind of rivaling, ideas and that kind of thing, the horrible thing is that you end up having groups fighting against each other instead of fighting against the problem.
Right.
And
I think you just nailed it. And I tell you what, real quick,
to drive those divisions too, man, and we got to really recognize that as well.
Yeah, you mentioned first off somebody wielding a stick. First off, that's not just you talking hyperbole here. We literally had a story on the antimedia.org last week about a guy that got killed for having a stick. Cops showed up and killed him.
He was wearing boxers too. Those boxers are kind of dangerous.
And I'll tell you this, you said that for the most part, most everybody gets screwed with by the police. And I'm going to go out here and tell you somebody that doesn't get screwed with by the police. And I don't think, that it's necessarily race motivated, but it's people with money. And here's a story, again, another story that we ran here, a situation that happened in Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago where there was a guy that got pulled over for a DUI. He was clearly drunk. The cop tried to arrest him. Well, the guy that got pulled over was rich, had a lot of money, had a friend inside the local town government, called him. He shows up. He's like, we're just going to get him off. And the cop was like, no, we're not. He's like, we're just going to get him off. So they ended up arresting the guy anyway. The cops, backed the officer for trying to arrest this wasted rich guy. But the people inside the government or inside the town that were friends with him, all those officials started giving crap to the police. So the police responded with, by all quitting. Every single one of them just quit. And they don't have a police department anymore. So that's what happens in this country, if you try to stand up with somebody with money, because that's where the huge, huge, huge issue is. People with money get to do what they want, whenever they want.
Exactly, man, and it comes down to a class issue. I think more than in a major way at least. And as you're saying, man, the people with money, for one, they have the legal resources, the lawyers, man. People, even rich guys that do get DUIs and do get prosecuted, shit, half the time they get the charges dropped down to wet and reckless, or charges gets lessened against them because they've got the legal resources to fight it and stuff like that. And your average working class person just can't do that. You know what I'm saying? And to make matters worse, if you're driving down the street and you're black or brown, you've got an even higher chance of getting pulled over and messed with by the cops. And so, I mean, it's an issue that affects us all, bro. And we all have to come together to fight it. Otherwise, it's never going to change. And the fact of the matter is that the media is just going to make everybody scared of each other like they do right now. And, everybody's like, oh, my God. Muslim people, they must be terrorists, and they're scared of black people walking down the street and all that stuff. I mean, this is all fabricated stuff. I mean, we shouldn't be fearing each other just because we look slightly different or have a slightly different tint to our skin. But all that stuff is just propagandized into us from a very young age, man. And it's not natural to us, but it's something that is clearly an issue that's going on, man. And the only way to fight it, bro, is by turning off the TV and tuning into programs like this and coming together as just people with common causes, man, and forgetting about all these fabricated differences that they like to split us apart with. The whole Republican Democrat thing, that's the most obvious. But they use it in very micro ways, man. Even in the people that are for and against abortion, people that are for and against gay marriage, people that are for and against everything, man. They use it all against us to split us all apart and dehumanize one and humanize another and all this stuff, man. It's all a big psyop, dude. And unfortunately, we're the guinea pigs, man. And it's been working really well. And they've been getting away with it for a long time. But now things are changing thanks to the internet. People are starting to realize, okay, the shit they've been showing us on CNN for the past 3 decades isn't true. The shit they've been saying on Fox News ain't true. The shit they've been saying on CNN isn't accurate. You know what I mean? And so that's why we're starting to see, man. You look at these protests, dude. You look at the amount of people out on the street all around the world. It's changing. And it's only thanks to the internet and thanks to independent media. And you can't discount citizen journalism. Anybody that's got a phone, that's got Twitter or got Facebook, can be a journalist at any time and document this stuff. I talked about it last night on the Anti-Media Radio on Wednesday. There was a guy, if you look at the original video, the original body cam video, there's a guy that kind of walks right by the car, and he doesn't stop. He doesn't even look back. People that are walking by these kind of situations where someone's getting pulled over, if you're there and you got the time, you got to turn around and start videotaping so that we could have multiple angles, multiple video angles when things go down like this. Because it's so important, because these cops have these body cams, and if you listen to the videos, you hear that one cop saying, "Oh, I'm going to turn my camera off." These guys they've only had these body cams for a few months. They're already trying to figure out ways how to subvert the body cams. You know what I'm saying? So, just because the cops have body cams doesn't mean that we could stop with the citizen journalism and recording these cops and videotaping police encounters and stuff like that. It's important now more than ever, because the body cameras can be used against us, and they can say, "Oh, look, we have the body camera. See, they were bad people." But the body camera doesn't show the whole story. The cop can, turn his body the other way when he shoots somebody. Cops can block the camera angle. They can turn the camera off. I mean, there's plenty of different things
Look
at
what they did to Sandra Bland, okay? We have the situation where, she's getting arrested for absolutely no reason, and there's really nothing violent going on between the cop and her, and then all of a sudden he brings her out of the line of sight of the camera, and then you hear her screaming that she's in pain. So the cop was aware that, okay, the camera's not on me now I can do what I want. That's sick. That's disgusting.
Exactly, man. These guys know what they're doing, bro. And I've got some friends where they're like, "Yeah, I'm not worried about the cops pulling me over. I know my rights. If they pull me over, I'll school them and stuff." It's like, dude, well, that's the thing, man. Sandra Bland did that. Samuel DuBose did that. They knew their rights, and they tried to stand up for their rights. Well, guess what happens when you challenge authority? Well, those authorities are going to get pretty mad sometimes, And yeah, there are, like you said, there are good cops out there that when you do say, "No, I know my rights" and stuff, they are going to actually be okay, cool, man. Well, you be on your way then, But other times there's going to be these power-hungry maniacs, sociopaths, whatever you want to call them. They're going to be like, "Oh, this guy's challenging my authority. What are they trying to tell me how to do my job? Bastards, I'm going to shoot. I'm going to be really violent with these people." That happened to me personally, man. And so I know that happens all the time. And it's just it's a horrible mindset. The other thing, besides the curriculum, besides the training that these cops get, that the type of people that are attracted to becoming cops, a lot of them are the wrong type of people. I mean, shit, there was even a Supreme Court case that found that there was a guy that got discriminated against. He wasn't allowed to become a cop because he was too smart. And the court ruled that was okay. So then now you start seeing that, they actually recruit meatheads that are just idiots that are going to follow orders to become cops because they don't want anybody getting out of line, becoming a whistleblower, or having a conscience, or turning on their fellow cops and stuff like that, because it makes the whole institution look bad. So, I mean, there's just so many different angles and such a deep-rooted issue with the policing. And we can't forget either that policing, the original police in this country were basically slave catchers, you know what I mean? And so it all has very bad roots. It's an institution that's been notoriously just horrible against people. I mean, look back at the old I think it was called the Rampart scandal out of LA. I mean, then you got the Rodney King thing, the notorious NYPD brutality against all kinds of people. I mean, shit, man. It's an institution that is in need of complete complete restructuring, rethinking, and shit. Maybe even getting rid of it and coming up with something new. I mean, I wouldn't even put that out of the question. Short term, I mean, I think we need to make lethal weaponry. Ban cops from having lethal weapons. Maybe give them like, tasers that they can shoot like as if they're a gun, where they can shoot it far. So if someone, if someone is with a gun from far away coming at them, they can shoot a taser at them, take them down. But right now with the cops and the way they are, as you guys mentioned, you're more likely to be killed by a cop than cops are likely to be killed by you. And so we all got to keep that stuff in mind.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on with that. And the thing that's so frustrating with me is especially people that are conscious and people that are aware of what's going on here, they get so caught up in division amongst themselves, and they get hung up on all this petty stuff, and they're like, but you don't, this, that, and the other, and nobody's focusing on the real main issue here, and it's exactly what Nick just said. It is the entire police state. Like, it's out of control. Again, I can't say this enough. There is first off, a huge race discrepancy that needs to be focused on because, yes, Black Lives Matter. But guess what? Like I said, there's not just gangs of white people out there killing black people in this country. There is a gang that all wears a certain uniform that's killing a lot of black people and killing a lot of people in general. And that's where we need to focus our attention on. It's everybody that's wearing the exact same kind of clothes is killing everybody. Well, let's talk about those people to make this stop. Period. That's where we begin. That's not to say there's not a million other issues that we can talk about and deal with. But the most pressing issue that we have is to get people to stop having their heads blown off, to stop having 12-year-old children in parks be murdered, to stop having a man that's selling a loose cigarette be choked out in the streets. Okay, that's what we need to all come together and focus on. Because more families are going to lose more of their children. More children are going to lose more of their fathers or their mothers if we do not come together and focus on what's killing everybody. You know what? It's not some whole privilege thing. It's people in a certain uniform. They're all doing it. That's what has to stop.
I agree with you, man. It's an issue that it affects us all, man. It affects us all, and the more we play into these narratives that divide people, the less power we're gonna have to fight back. And, I hate to say it, but they're really good at it, man. And, they've been at it for a long time. I mean, Bernays and, these philosophers, these pre-Nazi, before the Nazis were practicing propaganda to the max. I mean, we had Bernays here in the U.S. that tricked women into smoking cigarettes. Women used to not smoke cigarettes. But, these guys figured out how to make that happen. And these are the people that laid the philosophical groundwork for modern propaganda. And guess what, dude? As we covered the other day on the anti-media, DARPA, some of the most advanced scientific minds in the world are working on this shit for the U.S. government to advance propaganda narratives and stuff like that to keep the people basically neutralized against each other, and that's what they do. It's like they keep you fighting against each other. And look at Trump, dude. He's a perfect example, and he's stirring up a bunch of hate against Mexicans from these brain dead people that believe the shit that he's saying. But again, it just plays into this divide and conquer narrative where it's like, oh, well, yeah, these Tea Party people don't like Mexicans because they're supposedly taking our jobs. And it's funny coming out of Trump's mouth because he's the same exact guy that's getting shit manufactured in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? So, it's all these false narratives that they're putting out at us, whether it comes from Trump and Fox News or whether it comes from Hillary Clinton, MSNBC. It's all the same shit. It's a narrative to keep people divided against each other. And unfortunately, it's always the working poor, the working class people, which all of us that are talking right now, and probably most of the people that are listening into this show, unless the NSA...
the ones that are getting shot in the head.
Exactly, man. And so, they've been for a long time just keeping the population divided against itself. And it's worked and it's still working. But hopefully, more and more things on the internet and hopefully more and more shows like this can help continue to break through that shit and start building unity between everybody, whether you're gay or you're straight or you're liberal or progressive or you're conservative or libertarian or anarchist or black or Mexican or white. Doesn't matter. If we can all start uniting, that is going to fix and change shit, and it's going to scare the living hell out of the people that are controlling us right now, because that's what they don't want. They want us fighting each other, and meanwhile they laugh all the way to the bank with our paychecks. And that's just, that's been going on for a long time, and it's going to keep going on unless we, figure it out real quick.
I just don't understand why in 2015 we have not reached a certain evolution in our thinking that will automatically block this shit out and block out all of this other noise and keep focused on where the problem is. And the problem is the haves and the have-nots. The policemen all start out as have-nots. And they're...
For the most part.
For the most part. Most of them come from middle-class backgrounds, not any kind of serious education. Some, 2-year college.
You don't have many Harvard graduates.
No MBAs there. That's for damn sure. And and they're rewarded for following their handlers. It's just like the case you brought up in Oklahoma. That was some people that were not following their handlers' orders. That's not what the police officer's supposed to do. They were doing their job. If you or I get pulled over for a DUI, we know what happens. We get taken straight to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200. And we have to do our 12 to 14 hours in there, come out and do the walk of shame with whatever family member we got to bail us out, and go through these slow wheels of justice to make this DUI that's going to appear on our record for the remainder of our days, and go through all of the little classes and go through the AA meetings and so on and so forth, and we promise we'll never do it again, and $3,000 to the lawyer and $4,000. Instead, no, all you have to do is be connected. Oh, that's just a simple misunderstanding. He had a little bit too much to drink because his friend is the judge or the mayor or the city council person or whoever the case may be, because of the money that is pumped into their campaigns. You don't think it'd have anything to do with that, would you?
No, I doubt that. I don't think these people care about money at all. They just care about doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all they want to do. They just want
Just looking after us.
freedom, 9/11,
Yeah.
justice, 9/11,
9/11.
9/11.
I wish more people had seen the thing that I posted on my Facebook page the other day. It was the same little tired, sad picture, the meme of the two towers going down, and it essentially basically says, how did it go from this, showing the picture of the two towers, to us being afraid if we're offending Muslims, which I'm still trying to figure out. We hear the occasional anecdote here or there about this person doesn't want to offend this group, or they don't want to offend this group, or so on and so forth, PC, liberal, you can paint it however you want to paint it. And the response I made...
So let me just read it for everybody real quick. And this is what you put in front of a picture of the airplanes going into the Twin Towers. And the meme states, how do we go from this to being afraid of offending Muslims, as you said? And your response was, how do we go from that to laying waste to Iraq and Afghanistan when 14 of the hijackers were Saudi nationals? A country that, by the way, the U.S. is still in bed with, and Muslims to the core with a deplorable human rights record. Christian versus Muslim, white versus black, citizen versus cop, Republican versus Democrat. These societal wrestling matches are brought on by corporate America and our very own government to obscure the real truth that is sicker than any jihadist motives.
Can I say, boom?
And that's basically what Nick was saying earlier, too.
Absolutely. And again, that's where we need to be focused at. We need to be focused at and looking past all of this bullshit rhetoric yes, racism does exist in America, particularly if you are a law enforcement officer. And it doesn't matter if you're a white law enforcement officer or a law enforcement officer of color. There are law enforcement officers all over the colors of the rainbow that are shooting and killing folks in 2015.
Let's hear something. Here's
right
something,
there.
Shannon. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little story here about the city of Birmingham. You know, I believe because of Birmingham's historic past, people believe that it is a predominantly people of white skin live in Birmingham. Well, that is not the case. We've actually had a black mayor and predominantly a black city council since 1980.
The city of Birmingham right now is primarily, predominantly, I would say the mix is about somewhere in the low 80s, high 70s.
Which is that? But
African American
versus
white.
Here's the point. It goes back to the haves and the have-nots. Our current mayor right now, named William Bell, there was an incident with his security detail blowing some guy away.
Oh, no. That was a simple misunderstanding. It was justice. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah,
because he was sleeping with the guy's wife?
This happened, and I can't believe that, because if any other city the size of Birmingham in the United States that this happened to, this news would have been a lot further reaching than it was. It was just kind of a small blip on our radar. It's like, oh, that was kind of odd, and then it just went away. As the story goes, our mayor, who was recently seen shaking hands with President Obama not too long ago during some of our...
Good for him.
Some of our,
ring the bell.
Yeah. Progress. He happened to be over in let's just say an iffy part of town. Yes,
yeah.
In an iffy part of town. Happened to be over there with his security detail, and they happened, as the story goes, to have witnessed a little scuffle, a little something or another going on between two people in another vehicle that was away from them, a little further down the block. And it kind of caught their attention because both of the members of the security detail, who are paid nearly $100,000 a year apiece, and also are police officers, they're easily the highest paid beat officers on the crew. They are sworn police officers. They observed
you should see the suits those guys wear. They're fancy.
They observed.
Me and Nick actually saw William Bell when he was here in Birmingham.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you get to shake hands with him, Nick?
He's a nice guy, man. He brought us freedom. You know, if it weren't for him, there'd be Muslim extremists blowing people up in the streets.
That's absolutely right. I think he probably said that in a speech at some point in time.
He probably did.
No, wait a minute. No, I'm thinking of the speech he gave Patrick Cooper, calling him the white slave trader from Mobile. We'll get to that some other time. Details. No, they were over to a sketchy part of town. They observed this little, between two people. Apparently, there was something about a gun being pulled or some threat of violence or something. The police, who are trained and their primary, purpose is to protect the mayor at all costs,
they did.
Instead, go chase this person that they have nothing to do with. Nobody was firing a gun at them. They could have easily, because they were police officers, could have radioed it in. Said, hey, we've got an incident in progress right now at such and such. We've got the mayor here. Get your ass here right now. There would have been 15 police cars there within 30 seconds. I guarantee it, because it is a very heavily patrolled neighborhood as it is. So instead of them doing that, they went ahead and were following these individuals down the interstate, and pretty much like something you'd see out of the French Connection. It was all over the interstate, guns firing at each other. And eventually ended with the other people crashing. They went to jail, and then suddenly the story just, poof, disappears. Now, we can ask about 18 different questions, but Nick just said he's a nice man.
He was very nice, wasn't he, Nick?
And that's just on a local level. That's kind of what we're talking about. All of the crap that goes on behind the scenes that suddenly gets swept away.
The haves and the have-nots. Those with powers, those that have influence, those that have control, do what they want.
Yeah, our taxes pay his salary.
Yes.
And those cops that earn almost $100,000 a year.
Yes, and they do.
Definitely, man. And, I think that, part of this struggle here to bring people together as well, it is confronting racism, dude, because it's still really, really prevalent. And the latest example, as I mentioned earlier, is this Trump thing, and Trump is literally leading in the polls among Republican likely voters, and it's kind of insane because his most famous talking points is talking shit about Mexicans, and it kind of goes to show that man, there is a shitload of idiots out there that are still racist everywhere, man. And so we got to confront that. If we expect to bring people together, man, we gotta confront the racists. And most of these people, it's not that they're horrible people, it's that they're ignorant and probably brainwashed. And as many people know, a lot of racism, it stems from fear. And right now you got a lot of economic uncertainty. And if you take some worldly examples, if you look at Greece, everyone's heard about Greece and the financial crisis in Greece. A little known fact about Greece, man, is that it's now becoming one of the most racist countries in the entire world against immigrants and Jews and Africans and things like that, because their economy is so horrible and people are so worried about where they're going to eat.
You know what Greece is? It's very reminiscent of Germany after World War I. I mean, they're just left with nothing. They have nothing. They've tanked. And they have this, and all of a sudden, that's going to fix everything. And they're very charismatic, and yet everybody becomes very super racist all at the same time because this party took control. That's happening in Greece right now, and that's what happened in Germany in the 1920s.
Exactly, man. And it stems from economic uncertainty. People don't know where they're going to get their next paycheck or their next meal from. And when the media tells you, well, you know what, it's because the immigrants over here took your job. Unfortunately, the low information people, the older people that are just watching TV and shit, they're going to buy that shit. And these are the same people that are supporting Trump right now. There's the same type of people are all over the world, man. And so it's an issue that really stems from economics. And I'd like to argue that a lot of times the government, in order to maintain its power, it keeps the working class people in a bad economic situation. So they're always looking for a scapegoat to blame. You know what I mean? And that's what these white supremacists, man, in their mind, it's like, oh, the black people are going to take over and we're going to be, screwed. But it all stems from fear, man, because they're like I said, they may not be horrible people, but they're buying into this narrative that's coming out that is using a scapegoat to blame other people for issues that are stemming from the government, stemming from the corporate collusion that's going on, robbing everybody blind. All the working class people are being robbed blind right now. It doesn't matter what race you are. You're all paying. Everybody's paying taxes right now. We're all getting robbed for this shit. But what they do is they keep you in this messed up, uncertain economic scenario. Shit, 75% of people in the U.S. live paycheck to paycheck, and then they give you a bunch of scapegoats, a bunch of straw men to blame it on, dude. And that's what this racism stems from, man. It's not from people being inherently hateful or people being inherently prejudiced. It's that they are very good at this propaganda. They keep people broke, I think, on purpose, honestly, and then they use that to turn people against each other and blame each other for all these economic problems, when in reality we should all be looking at the top of the pyramid that is robbing us all blind. I mean, what is it, 80 billionaires own half the wealth in the country or whatever? I mean, shit. These are the people that are causing these issues. They're the ones causing the racism. They're the ones causing the division. They're the ones causing the war and the killing. I mean, the cops take their orders from somebody else. The cops aren't just out there becoming militarized on their own. Somebody's militarizing the cops, and all this stuff is made by the military industrial complex, corporations and all this shit owned by that own the government. I mean, it's a deep issue, man, and it stems from economy. And if we can rebuild from the ground up at an economic level, that's going to do away with a lot of these issues that we're facing.
Absolutely.
You nailed it on the head. Well, I tell you what, Nick,
so there's our answer to that one. Notice.
Yeah, that's happening. But I tell you what, we will be back next week. Anti-Media Radio. Thank you, Nick Burns, for joining us.
A silver spoon. I'm sorry, a golden spoon
you see why I
in
get
his
your
mouth.
shit.
Like the senator from Aqua Buddha, you know him. He said earlier this year, people who are getting onto Social Security disability benefits are slackers. They're welfare queens, right? You get the idea. So this character, he says, half the people getting benefits are either scared or their back hurts. So he's trying to mock this entire thing, right? Mock the suffering of working